Before I jump into command line interface, we need to discuss the terminology used in spanning tree protocol. So I use the slides from this blog, Cisco is easy.blogspot.com, and the lesson 20 here is spanning tree operation, and the slide I took is this one. There's a lot of theory. I'm going to include this in the description of this video anyways. So in this slide, we have basically the basic terminology used in spanning trees. So the first thing the spanning tree protocol does, it exchanges, before it opens traffic, it exchanges BPDUs. So those are special frames, bridge protocol data unit frames, which allow the system to elect or select this loop-free topology. This is done via a bunch of steps. The first step is that one of the switches, and we'll see that shortly in another video, the first step is to elect a root bridge, which is the central point in the network for the loop-free topology. The root bridge will have all ports in a so-called designated role, and designated role will be forwarding downstream away from the root bridge. So obviously the traffic can, for example, cross from this switch down the bottom over this root port towards root device, and the root bridge is going to forward the traffic maybe to some computer here on the right hand side. So the port roles are quite important. The root port is the port on a non-root switch that is the closest path towards the root bridge, and we'll talk about costs in just a second. So root port is the closest port, and only one will be open towards the root bridge. Designated port is the port that is also forwarding traffic, but is going away from the root bridge. And a non-designated port, or alternate port, sometimes called, is the port that is going to be in a blocking state. So that means that there are four, actually five, technically, spanning tree port states. One is disabled, like here. Disabled means that the port is not even participating in spanning tree, is basically shut down. Once the port gets open, can transition to one of those four different states. It can go in a blocking state. So if the port is a candidate to become a root port or designated port, known as alternate port, this can transition to blocking state first and stay there for 20 seconds. Once the port transitions to another state, it could be listening. So this is a candidate to become designated or a root port. It will stay in that state for 15 seconds by default. Then it transitions to learning state, in which it learns the MAC addresses. That takes around 15 seconds as well, before it becomes forwarding. And forwarding port will be root ports and designated ports. One important thing is that if the port stays in the blocking state, it doesn't forward any traffic in or out, and it doesn't learn any MAC addresses. In a listening state, the computer traffic is not being forwarded at this stage, but the port is listening, trying to determine if this is a proper candidate for designated or root port role. And in learning state, the traffic on your computers is still not being forwarded. So the computer traffic is being dropped